this morning. We are always happy to have Dr. Elodie, our medical director, with us. And this morning, she is going to be speaking about supplements, vitamins, herbs, and minerals. And I feel like I should say, oh my, like lions and tigers and bears. Oh my. Good morning, Dr. Elodie. Thank you for being with us this morning.
Thank you for having me. And I did a sound check this morning, so hopefully you guys can hear me okay. And I just wanted to say hello to everyone and good morning. And of course, I have my friend who wants to say good morning. Is okay. I like to, no kisses. So that's mayhem. But as I always said, I'm so happy to be here, and it's such an honor and a privilege to be able to have these discussions with you. I, as always, would love for this to be a casual conversation. One that if you have any questions, I would rather be fielding your questions and all of that jazz. And so at any point that there's a question, just let me know. I will stop and I will answer it, okay? Because again, I think that answering your questions is the reason why I'm here. So supplements, vitamins, herbs, and minerals. So as some of you know, I like to start off like with a case, kind of like a real life case. So Miss Herb is a 65-year-old female that presents to her physician for a routine follow-up. That's just a regular follow-up. She has a history of diabetes type 2, heart disease, and osteoporosis. In addition to her prescribed medications, she brings a bag full of supplements. She is tired of taking medications and solicits your opinion on taking natural remedies. And I get this question quite a bit where I have folks that come in and they'll have a couple bottles of supplements and they want to know, is it okay to take them? So what are supplements? I use that word as you notice, and the word supplements actually encompasses a lot, even more than just this list. So your vitamins, such as vitamin A, B, C, D, E, your minerals, minerals being like zinc and magnesium, those are your minerals. Herbals are going to be such as St. John's wort, if you've ever heard of things like that. Botanicals are going to be more like your lavender. Amino acids, and that's newish. You get some of those in a powder. Usually weightlifters or people who work out will take amino acids. Enzymes, and then animal extracts. And those are usually come in like a thyroid form. Sometimes you can see them at your mustard seed or your Whole Foods. And they're typically used to help metabolism. So how are supplements regulated? So you might have heard this time and time again, but the FDA does regulate both finished dietary supplements and the dietary ingredients in them. However, just like they do with any conventional food or drug, however, it is the responsibility of that drug, of that maker, of that label to monitor the safetiness and the effectiveness of that. So I say it again. So FDA does regulate the ingredients. So they just can't put, something else in it. But they don't monitor if it's safe or effective. And that's the problem. And also that supplements are not intended to treat, diagnose, prevent, or cure diseases. And I cannot say that enough. What I do understand also that is this can be quite confusing at times because you do have over-the-counter medications and vitamins versus something that is prescription that can be helpful. So we'll talk a little bit about that as well. So one of the things that you want to look at when you go to your store, whether it's Giant Eagle, Whole Foods, is to really understand is if this is a supplement. It will say supplement on there, and it should have this wording right on the back of there. okay? And it'll tell you your daily value of how much you typically need. So as you see here for vitamin A, um, and vitamin D, you only need, for example, vitamin D, you only need 400, what we call international units a day. And this has more than enough of vitamin D in it. Most of our nutrients that we need, we already get in our food. So my question is, wait, does it matter since they are natural? You know, one of the things that Mrs. Herb asks is, can she take the supplements and is it better for her because it's natural? And the answer is, it doesn't matter if it's natural or not. Um, it still can have interactions with your medications. And so I did an example here. A lot of you may know what Coumadin is or may have heard of a medication called Coumadin, which is a prescription medication. And then I picked a herbal supplement called ginkgo. I love ginkgo. Um, and it's usually people take ginkgo for memory plus aspirin. And some of you may take aspirin for heart disease or to thin your blood, plus vitamin E. Some folks take vitamin E for their hair and nails. But all of those medications together, individually thin your blood, right? And together, they work on top of each other. So with Coumadin, thins the blood, of course. Ginkgo can thin the blood all by itself. Aspirin works another mechanism, and vitamin E. That puts you in trouble for an internal bleed. We call that a hemorrhage. Other examples include that medications, herbs can make other medications not work as well. So one of the examples I have here is St. John's wort, which some people might take for depression, but it stops the effectiveness of other important medications that you may be on, such as heart medications or medications for depression. So what do you need to consider before you just pick up your herb or a vitamin or any type of supplement, right? What should you consider? Well, you should consider other medications that you're on. And how can you consider that? Well, you discuss that with your physician, right? And what will your physician consider? Well, he will consider your other medications as well as your diet. And just to let you know, I am definitely not anti-supplement, but I'm also making sure that whatever you take for a prescription and whatever you take as a vitamin, it is indicated. So when do you need supplements? So I'm going to say again, I think I kind of said it this way, I was a little premature, is that food is always the best way to receive nutrients. However, if there is a deficiency, you will need to replace that. And that's with anything, right? If there is a deficit, we need to fill that deficit, especially when it comes to our diet. We are very, I'm going to say, blessed that we have a lot of foods that are what we call fortified with vitamins. So many of our cereals, for example, are fortified with vitamin B, all the B complexes, um, vitamin A, and a lot of the minerals that we need as well. But we know that as we get older, that there are many contributors to malnutrition as we get older. So we lose 2/3 of our taste buds on our tongue, and things just don't taste as great as they used to taste. So there may be a chance of developing some of these vitamin and mineral deficiencies. So again, with advancing age, there's problems sometimes with teeth or if you have dentures, loss of taste. Sometimes there's difficulty swallowing, malabsorption, that means things don't absorb well, and there are drug nutrient interactions. And when I say drug nutrient, there's interactions between a vitamin that you could be taking and the medication, kind of like the example I gave earlier. Other contributors to malnutrition includes physical limitations. So maybe you don't have a car and you can't get to the store and get the necessary foods you need. Some folks may have a lack of financial resources that give them nutritious food. And then functional limitations can contribute to nutritional deficiencies. If it's there, it's in the refrigerator, but maybe your energy is low, or you just for some reason you can't get to it. I know I was just kind of talking about this a little bit with my grandparents, but they have a habit of eating foods that are high in sodium and like TV dinners. But non-perishable foods, for example, like canned goods, a lot of soup are high in sodium and nitrates. And the process of all of that actually removes the vitamins. Um, as you may see on a lot of your medications, it can cause what we call anorexia, or it can change the taste of your foods. And again, some of the medications interfere with how much nutrients you have. So all of that to say that even though there's all of these risk factors, just aging decreases the availability of nutrients. So changes in body composition, there's decreased bone mass, right? Because our body can get calcium from our bones if we need to, but as we get older, we don't have those available stores. Decreased water content, increased total body fat, and decline in organ function. So I'm not going to go through all of these drugs, but these are several drugs that make you lose your appetite. And again, we're just looking at why we would need supplements. Some of you guys may know some of these medications. And drugs that interfere with taste. So imagine if you had a medication that interfered with taste, a medication that interfered with um, appetite, and then one that interfered with smell. You're likely to, and these are pretty common medications, you're pretty likely to have some malnutrition. Okay. So I say that just to say that older adults are at risk of malnutrition just from the standpoint of the physiology of aging and the type of medications that they take. The science does not support taking supplements if you're already healthy and you've already have the adequate stores. So I just wanted to put that out there. So if you have adequate stores of your vitamins, which you can have blood tested, you do not need supplementation. Your body literally will waste that supplement. But if you don't, this is when you definitely will need to take one. And again, a lot of those you can get your iron tested, your B vitamins tested, and it's just blood work. You can get your zinc tested, magnesium, your electrolytes. You can get all of those things tested right at the doctor. So, but needless to say, we have a tendency, especially the United States, to still take supplementation despite what the evidence and the science shows. So vitamin C, E, D, B, calcium, zinc, magnesium, and as I said, those are minerals. All of those, these are the most common type of supplementation that folks take. Vitamin C is very popular in our orange juices. It's in our orange juices. It's in our cereals. There's several things that are fortified with vitamin C as well as vitamin D. And so If there's going to be inadequate intake, they looked at inadequate intake. And if there's going to be inadequate intake of anything, it's going to be most likely vitamin D. And if there's going to be too much of something, it's usually the niacin, zinc, calcium, and folate. And this is just a couple studies that they've done. What is needed the most, and what is needed the least. So I'm going to go through some of the vitamins supplementation that people take that shows great evidence for you to take. And as you see here on this tab, it shows you how much you need. So supplementation for omega-3 fatty acids, you need about 1 gram a day. Show that it did supports a significant reduction in heart attacks. And so when folks say, I want to take the omega-3 fatty acids, I think that, like a fish oil, I think that's a great idea. It hasn't had any effect. We don't have enough studies to show if it has even better reduction in stroke. So no studies to see, but we can correlate that if it works on the heart, it probably is going to work on the brain as well. We have a saying in geriatrics, what's good for the heart is good for the brain. This very long explanation, and it goes into detail if you want to know, but it's basically saying that people who have memory loss may have a decrease in B12, and they may need B12 supplementation. And again, these are one of the vitamins that you can go to the doctor and just simply say, hey, can you test my B12 levels? And they can test it. You can see if you need it. And, again, if you need it, then it's helpful. But if you didn't need it, not very helpful at all. So again, right now I'm going over the ones that have good evidence. So osteoporosis, women need vitamin D supplementation. It has been both vitamin D and calcium. It has been shown 1,000 international units a day to decrease the risk of hip fractures and all fractures by 6%. So hip fractures by 16 and all fractures by 6. So cancer medications, so very important that folks take and get enough folic acid. This is important, and I put this in for the maternal folic acid supplementation. This is from childbearing age on. It's important to take folic acid to help prevent cancer. And that's going to be at least 1 gram a day. What is so-so? If you took it, great. If you didn't, it didn't hurt you, but it doesn't have a lot of evidence behind it. So antioxidant vitamins have no beneficial effect for heart attack or stroke. This is just a picture that I took real quick because I wanted you to see some of these interactions, but I'm going to skip that. There was no benefit of taking vitamin D for cancer, no benefit for taking calcium for cancer or fish oil. But as you've seen from the previous, there is benefit for heart attack and osteoporosis for vitamin D and calcium. But they've done these studies to look at, is there benefit for cancer as well? So heart disease. So there's also been a study to look at, is B12, folic acid, and B6, is there any benefit for heart disease? And there was no benefit. Now, again, you're going to take them for other reasons, but no benefit in heart disease. And the X there in the corner is, did it hurt? So you got the ones that it helped, Then you got the middle where it's, it didn't hurt, didn't cause harm, but it didn't benefit. And then you have here that it actually shown to have some risk of cancer. So beta carotene supplementation increased lung cancer amongst people who were smokers. And that's what this kind of says over and over again. The second line here says beta carotene and vitamin A. And the next one is vitamin E and selenium, which also caused some prostate cancer. So again, some things to stay away from for this reason. Beta carotene, vitamin A, and vitamin E. So I am going to just kind of look before I continue for the most common vitamins and see if there's, I'm going to see if there's any questions, and I don't see any yet. And again, I definitely encourage you to write your questions in as I go through this. But the most common vitamins are going to be your B complex and your vitamin E. And I say B complex because B complex is B6, B1, B12, and B2, which is riboflavin. Vitamin C is very common, and you're going to get that from your raw leafy vegetables and in your citrus fruits and your strawberries. That's very important. You want to at least get 500 milligrams of that a day. Vitamin E, we don't need a whole lot of vitamin E, and we're going to see it a lot in our foods. We're going to have it a lot in our foods. And we have a tendency not to have issues with depleting vitamin E stores. It's several of them in the environment. There's 8 forms of these types. B12 is important because it helps with memory and nerves. So us being able to have sensory and touch, it's important for that. And a lot of times folks can get this deficiency if they don't eat enough. And we talked a little bit about folic acid and what that has to look like. Again, the best way to get folic acid or any of these vitamins, excuse me, it's going to be from food. So this talks about pinto beans, navy, lima beans, broccoli, asparagus, romaine. And again, it says down here in 1998, I thought it was important to put that the FDA did fortify flours, bread, rolls, buns, farina, which I love, corn grits. They all fortified it with folic acid. And of course, vitamin D, extremely important. And all of these products are also fortified with vitamin D. But I would definitely encourage you to take at least 1,000 international units of vitamin D a day. Thiamine is very important because even though it is hard to have a deficiency in thiamine, which is one of your B vitamins, it's one of your B vitamins, it can cause a lot of problems. And typically people don't have a problem with this unless they drink alcohol, a substantial amount of alcohol. And I tried to throw some pictures in here. And B6, which is associated with good cardiovascular health. And this is just found again in your meat, in your poultry, and your beans, and all that good stuff. And the same thing with riboflavin, which is it's another B complex. It's in your B complexes, and you can get these from nuts and beans and all that great stuff. Again, it is very difficult to have any deficiencies in these. And so when I see people taking B complex, I will test their vitamins. And if their vitamins are fine, I say, hey, this is just another medication that you don't have to take. So there are approximately 15 inorganic elements that are only required in very small amounts, very, very small. And again, it is very difficult for you to have a deficiency. The most common deficiency is going to be iron. And again, I am able to test that. Iodine is not common at all. If you have any type of salt on your food, you're getting iodine. Copper is not a problem with deficiency. Sometimes zinc is, but again, our foods are fortified with them. And selenium, excuse me, I keep having a problem saying that. And so I just wanted to go through there. So I am going to relist and summarize. Let me go here. And I'm going to stop sharing my screen and move my. I'm going to summarize the important ones. Okay. So iron, if your iron is depleted, but you would first want to check your iron, and you can do that via a blood test. Vitamin D, folic acid, you can get that checked via a blood test. And B12. Those are going to be your 4 most important vitamins. Your minerals, you're going to be able to check potassium, sodium, magnesium. All of that can be checked again on your basic blood work. And if they're low, then we're able to replace them. But what we don't want to do is to take something that we're just wasting our money on and it's being flushed down the toilet. The best medication is always going to be your food, or it's going to be in your food. They have found that a blueberry, for example, has been shown to help with cognition. And they tried to separate each component out from the blueberry to see what part of that blueberry is great for memory, and it just wasn't any specific component. It was all of the blueberry. So that just tells you that the actual whole food is really what our body truly needs, and not any one of those pieces separate. And so I am going to stop there because I'm hoping that there are some questions that I can field and talk about. And so thank you again for your attention.
Thank you, Dr. Elodie. Feel free to click on Q&A or chat at the bottom of your screen and type in those questions so that we can field those to Dr. Elodie. Dr. Elodie, you mentioned both on your polypharmacy talk that we had a little while back and in this education, just that importance of letting your doctor know all of the supplements. And you can't say it enough and stress how important that is. So I just want to mention that one more time. Yeah.
Yes, thank you. It's very important because even though they're natural, doesn't mean that they don't interact with the other medications that you take. And you have to think of the situation. So if I don't tell my doctor before surgery that I'm taking ginkgo, for example, and then I bleed more than I should, I mean, that's something that my doctor would have loved to know, right? So it's important to have those discussions.
Thank you. Don't see any questions coming through at the moment. We'll give it just another few seconds here. Feel free to type those in. That just speaks to the excellent coverage you gave on the topic that no one has any questions out there.
Well, if they think of any questions, I'm happy to answer them as well. And again, I cannot say I love. I grew up, my mother is a missionary, and I grew up with all kind of supplementation. And so I'm definitely, if you need it, pro supplementation, but I'm also, let's not throw our money down the drain if we don't need it.
How much do pharmacists know on that topic? I mean, is a pharmacist, is that a good replacement for a physician to ask questions about?
Absolutely. A lot of pharmacists are going to understand those interactions. and they definitely want to know. And so if you're not comfortable speaking with your doctor about it, you can talk to your local community pharmacist.
Perfect. Like, oh, Jody has her hand raised. So Jody, if you can type in your question, if not, I will try to figure out how we can let you talk here. Let's see. All right, Jody, if you unmute yourself, we'll be able to hear you if you'd like to ask your question.
Thank you. I'm just curious to know how much training in nutrition do doctors actually have?
That's a great question. We get very little training in nutrition. So probably, I want to say we might get in medical school 1 month. In residency, though, we practice nutrition for internal medicine and geriatrics. We practice it probably daily, but a little actual classroom work, lots of field work.
How do you learn it in the field?
So one of the things that I like to do is, even as a teacher, I teach resident physicians and medical students. If a patient comes in and they always come in with something on their medication list, we'll take a look at it, right? And then we'll go and educate ourselves by doing what we call a heavy duty literature search, and find all about that medication. And that's really how we are able to do that field work. And we do that probably several times a day.
Okay, thank you very much.
Oh, you're welcome. But that's a great question, because we were just, some docs and I were just talking about how in medical school, the training we got was, I'm going to say what it is, was garbage. But we really take it upon ourselves, because, hey, if something's working for my patient, I want to know about it. And so I'm going to read about it, but I also want to make sure it, as we've had some people come in with things that we found out was, not what it said it was. So,
May I ask another question?
of course, yes.
Okay. I have heard that vitamins A, C, D, E, and zinc all are supportive of the immune system.
Absolutely. And absolutely. So not only just the immune system, but like vitamin A, which is retinol, we need for our eyes. Vitamin E is important for our hair, but they are all very important for the immune system. And we even have a tendency to put folks who have large gaping pressure wounds on a little bit of zinc to kind of help with that wound. However, again, we want to look at the whole story. Most patients who are healthy, we say otherwise healthy, they're not real frail in a nursing home, they don't need those. But I will put my frail patients on a multivitamin, but besides the actual multivitamin, they don't need anything else.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Oh, you're welcome.
And that first Z is actually an S in my name.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining us today. Thank you, Jody, for those excellent questions. And thank you, Dr. Elodie, for all of the information. We always appreciate having you with us.
Thank you so much. And you guys have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.